Let us continue with our lesson, and we have already created a entity and DAO and also the database service. So next step is to make use of the repository over here. So we'll go to the repository over here, and we'll go and check for the tax repository. Just open this tax repository, and now you can see that we have a tax repository, and in the constructor we require a network service because we want to get all the tax from our API. And the next is, in the same tax repository we will be adding all of these. Let's go to the DAO. We have the insert, update, delete, get all tax from DB, and get the max ID. So we need to implement all of this in our tax repository, so we can make use of the same tax repository instead of creating any new repository. So what I will do is I will require app database. So let's go over here and create a new variable. So I will say private val, and I'll say app database, and I will require the app database over here. So after I have the app database, now I will create a suspend function over here, and first thing that we will insert it. So let's make use of the insert, and I will say function insert insert. And over here, when we are inserting, if you take, we need a tax entity. So I need a tax entity over here, and that should call the what we have, app database. So app database dot the tax DAO. So in the app database we have this abstract function which is a tax DAO. We need to access that one, and when we have a tax DAO, then we can make use of all of the implementation of the interface function that we have. Then we can add those signature function over here. So dot and insert it. So we can insert over here the tax entity, right? So we need a tax entity. So this function will suspend function will insert the entity, tax entity, to our database. And the next is we need to update. So let's create a new function over here. I'll just copy all of this, and instead of writing it, so over here instead of insert I will say update. And update, what we need is a tax entity and tax DAO that update. So update will also need a tax entity, and we need another one is a delete. So it also needs a tax entity. So over here we can just copy the same thing, and I will say this is of our delete, and we need a tax entity over here, and that is of our delete. And the next is we need to implement get all tax from DB and the get max tax ID. So let's implement that over here, and over here I will say get all tax from the DB, and the DAO we need to get all tax from the DB. And here the parameter that we have to pass. Okay, so we are not passing any parameter, so we can remove this parameter from here as well as from here. And finally we have a last function which is of a get max ID. So let's go over here, and let's make use of the suspend function get max ID, and it's of equals to app database the tax DAO, right, that get max ID. So we are not passing any argument over here, so that should be fine. And we have the repository already. So this repository we have to make use with our view model. So I think that's all for this lesson. We have already implemented all of our signature function, which comes from the tax DAO, in our tax repository. And in the next lecture we'll go and make use of this tax repository in our tax or the view model that we need to implement. So let's meet up in the next lecture. Till then, have a great day.